Welcome back to another game dev update. Last week, since I laid down the blueprints for some of the sub-weapons I wanted to implement, this week I figured I'd go ahead and work on them. As you can see, this weapon conjures a void on the nearest enemy. It locks you down in place while you're using it, so you can't actually spam it repeatedly. But it's a very powerful weapon, all things considered. And I'm going to be using infinite ammo for the purposes of this video. Now when you empower this thing, the void that it conjures hits even faster. The last big advantage to using this weapon is that you'll have super armor while you're casting, so if you happen to be too close to an enemy, it won't knock you back while you're doing it. It's a pretty effective weapon against an enemy that isn't too mobile. Once it locks onto an enemy's position, it won't actually move around. So if you're going to be using this on something more mobile, you're going to have to wait for those opportunities where the enemy sits still. It was a lot of fun trying to use this thing against some of the bosses. Find a good moment, you can really chew through their health. The next weapon I'm showing off is a wind weapon. It's very much like a triple slash, but once you get in the air, it'll actually provide you a slowfall effect. And when you empower this thing, it'll conjure wind on both sides of the player. It is the kind of weapon that's going to excel at aerial combat. So while fighting an enemy on the ground with this weapon isn't going to be your particular incredible use of it, it'll still be effective enough. And this thing truly shines once an enemy takes flight. Getting to stay aloft while shredding an enemy felt incredible. The last weapon that I worked on this week was something for the player's mobility. Something of an Airdash, and if it doesn't deal enough damage to kill the enemy, it'll instead bonk off of them, so you'll want to weaken an enemy if you want to pierce through them. But once I got the hang of moving around with this thing, it was a lot of fun navigating through the levels that I'd made. This weapon doesn't provide any protection from projectiles, so you'll have to be careful not to run into anything. But if it's empowered, it will deal more damage so you can go through some of those tougher enemies. Some of these weapons are going to have better applications for the stages rather than the boss fights, but it was definitely a lot of fun flying through the air like this. So that's all for this week, thanks for watching, see y'all next time on another Screenshot Saturday.